once it's stated, it's less so. It's actually easier to connect to the broader concepts. And then moving towards, I was looking at Kansas City's plan, and they have an incredible statement about moving towards a student versus adult-centered model. And it's what I appreciate about, I can't quote it, but what I appreciate about their statement of it, it feels not so judgmental about, well, we've been doing it, or this is bad versus good, but just the shift in our thinking in terms of how we make decisions and how we resource buildings. And we haven't, and that's the next, I didn't want to jump too far ahead because that's like 2 pages on. But that's, I felt leading towards that. So that's kind of some of the stuff that I'm still looking for. And then I know you need some direction from us about that. And that's kind of the next part, is that strategy. And I think you've heard Liza said it very clearly in terms of the only thing, I'm skipping ahead to the next page, the strategy to fiscal responsibility. The thing that I would add is what a really clear strategy connected to the theory of action, connected to the student versus adult centered, connected to actual data that I hear you all saying you're heading towards in terms of really doing that deep analysis of replaying the tape of when we look at our actuals and money that was spent in buildings, what was effective and what wasn't. There's a whole other dynamic around behavior when it comes to money that's unspent, particularly in institutions. But there's so much to be gained from knowing and understanding and replaying that tape as we're trying to model, right? Replaying the tape and looking back at how we spent our time. What was effective in an individual school. It could be, as Director Sebring stated, any number of reasons why that money isn't being used. It can be very difficult to spend money, and some of it might be the belief gap. But like that root cause analysis would help us get to that, and I know you all are on that, and I'm just suggesting ways that we could bring it all together and better discuss it. Have better kind of hoppers to put stuff in. So yeah, I feel like we're maybe 60% there, and which is huge, starting from zero.
So in response to that, and I appreciate all that, from earned autonomy to student outcome focused governance, we are in the middle of it right now. And what I mean by that is we have not been focused solely on outcomes for students, and so we're changing it as we're moving forward. It's forcing us into root cause analysis. But really, the theory of action right now is, where is there deviance in the system for how we do things? What can we take and standardize, and then start to understand what the root cause analysis are, and then build from that? But we don't even know where the deviance is, and so if you look at it from a student outcome focused governance perspective, we haven't looked at it from solely outcomes. We've looked at it from the inputs and the outputs, but we never looked at it from solely outcomes. And now that our goals are constructed with the SMART goals, we're building backwards from that. And so we're trying to make sure that we know what the best practices are in each building, and that we lift those up. And then that's kind of in the spirit of targeted universalism. We take what's working and we spread it around the rest of the district. And so we're right on track, I think, with the understanding and our development and our maturity around student outcome focused governance. That really is our theory of action as we're moving right now. But I'd love to get to the place of this concept of earned autonomy, but I don't even think we're there yet. I think we're still diagnosing where there's deviance across the system, where is it working and where is it not. And so to President Hersey's point, I think we need to do root cause analysis of what's happening in West Seattle. And so once we can start to understand deeper around why aren't we getting these outcomes, then I think we can build back into the system. So that's a very short answer to a very complex issue, but I think we're collectively learning as we go on how to be more disciplined around how do we do root cause analysis, and where do we start, and what outcomes are we looking for? So if we look at well-resourced schools, that's the outcome we're looking at. And if we won't even do that unless we can have some assurity that that's going to produce better outcomes for our students. So love to get your responses to that. So I know you're prompting us to go to the next couple slides, and we did. That was really what we were trying to do for 23-24. So that's our strategy. That's our hurry up and get a budget to you all reconciled to be able to be balanced, to meet our fiscal responsibility, fiscal obligation. And as we go into 24-25, this is where we have a little more time to start to think strategically, to your point, Director Hampson, around why are we doing some of these things? What's the root cause? How is this attached to outcomes? So I'll stop right there and see if directors have any more clarity about 23-24, and then we can move on at your leisure. Okay. All right, next slide, please. So now we're moving into 24-25, and this could be 24, 25, 26, 27, and beyond. One thing I mentioned at the outset is we want to implement an enrollment growth campaign. That's something that we should be looking at, that we should look at how are we developing these well-resourced schools to make SPS the choice to Seattle parents. We know Seattle parents have a lot of different choices. I met a young lady the other day, and her father was introducing me to her, and she said, "That's your superintendent." Well, she mentioned a private school. I was like, "I'm not your superintendent," but I tried to recruit her on the spot to come to Seattle Public Schools, and I interrogated a little bit as to why are you going to that school versus Seattle schools, and we started to develop this rapport. But I think we need to go on the offense a little bit. We have something great to offer, so I think there's an opportunity. I know we have lower birth rates. I know that the trend is going down, but I think there's an audience that needs to hear our message, and I think we can start to make ourselves the school of choice to Seattle parents. The other piece that we're doing is we're looking at our programs. We really have to be proactive around understanding our special education services, our English language learner services, transportation. All of these, we're not going to get enough funding this year to reconcile these pieces. So we have to look internally around, are we using our money as most efficiently and effectively as we can? We're going to keep pushing to get more funding to make sure we're fully funded. But until that time, we have to be open to doing things differently and new, to really understand what our challenges are in terms of needs versus the funding that we have. And then that goes right to this next point. We're going to continue to have conversations with our legislative partners around underfunding of statewide programming, particularly in special education, transportation, and our classified staffing and ratios and compensation. And so these are the high-level pieces that we're going to go forward with for 24-25, and there's probably 25 other strategies that we're going to lift up. But we just want to give you some insight into what we're thinking. You all will be with us. This is where we're going to start to talk to the community about what their needs are, but it's all really based on this concept of well-resourced schools. How do we start to build back from that? Next slide, please. So, looking for confirmation of a board directive for as we move into 24-25. Next slide, please. So looking to see if these elements are where you all are giving the superintendent and staff the charge: stabilize our future, keep us solvent, resolve the long-term structural deficit spending, instill discipline and accountability to all spending, all the things that you all just talked about, and really display fiscal stewardship and responsibility. Our public has voted confidence in us, approving levies and those type of things. We want to respond in kind and say we are great fiscal stewards, and we are geared up to have outstanding outcomes for students, and our students have great experiences. So that's the genesis for this question around a directive that you all can give to the superintendent for how we move forward for this next phase, for the 24, 25, and beyond. Next slide, please. With that in mind, I think Director Hampson was a little bit ahead of the game. She's always been an advanced learner, but here we are. With the student outcome focused governance framework in mind, what guidance do you have for us? And so really looking to have a clear charge, be on the same page, align in our thinking, seeing the problem with the same understanding, and then really moving forward as a collective around making this happen to get to this concept of well-resourced schools. So I want to leave this open to you all around what guidance do you have for us around the directive, around this whole effort that we're embarking on together. I'll be quiet and let you all share with me and us.
In terms of the student outcomes focused governance, I think the data that we've been looking at student outcomes, the sources of opportunity are addressing the needs of our special education and our multilingual students. So I would be excited going forward when we're thinking about the programs where our resources are misaligned with state funding, that we really look at how can we better serve those students and drive their outcomes with the resources that we have, and why do we have significant spending beyond the state resources. So, I think having this added slide in this presentation where we're looking at exactly how much more we're spending over the state revenue, I would be curious to know what is going into special education. Like, I assume that is mostly staffing, but more detail about that, and just I would love for us to actually do a deep dive at some point, an entire work session on special education, because I think that is tremendous in terms of unlocking our budget issues, but also our academic opportunities for our students.
I guess a directive I would have is to be, I don't know if it's possible to do these things at the same time, but what comes to mind is be sympathetically ruthless. Because I think in general we have not I know when it comes to like self-examination, I'm like, no. Let's talk about anything else. I don't want to look within. But we, as a system, we have done things the way they were done the year before, or looked at kind of what exists as what can exist into the future and made adjustments and been afraid to completely reevaluate and to also say, people might like this, or this might be the way it's always been, but this particular thing isn't working or is costing, more than we have to spend on it or whatever. And I think it's really hard. And I mean, especially in Seattle, to be that direct and ruthless about and honest with ourselves and each other and the public about what does and doesn't work, and having the courage to act on it. We're really good at admiring a problem together and agreeing that something is a problem and talking about the ways in which, oh yes, that's terribly tragic, and then not taking that step into making the shifts necessary. Probably being quoted on Twitter right now as being a heartless, terrible person for saying be ruthless, but that's why I say sympathetically ruthless, because it does nobody any favors for any of us to pretend that this isn't a big issue that we have to solve. We can't pretend that we can sort of wait our ways out of some of these things. And some of what we're facing is within the control of Seattle Public Schools, and some of it is not. But we don't get a choice about what we confront and what we don't confront. For example, like I think doing an enrollment campaign is a great idea. And we are the third most childless city in the United States. I mean, and housing has a big impact. There's no new housing. So like I am living in a home that I could not afford today, purchased it almost 10 years ago. And I had 2 kids who were elementary age kids. I'm not having more kids. I'm not leaving my house. So there's not new elementary students coming to replace those students. And our city is very expensive, and our new housing is not, well, there isn't new housing, but it's also, we have a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds that don't have kids, and then when they want to have kids, either can't afford to move into a bigger space, leave the city, or just aren't going to have children. And so I think that's something we can't pretend is something that we can do anything about. At the same time, we can work to make Seattle Public Schools the choice of more families. Not only are we one of the most childless major cities in the country, we have one of the highest percentages of students who attend private schools. I think we have but still 75% of the children living in Seattle attend Seattle Public Schools. That's still, 75%. And there's a long history in this city of how and why that happened. So I think, recruiting, trying to maintain numbers is a great idea, and is something that we should do anyway. And it's not going to fill those 19 buildings that have under 200 students. Maybe if we look at our projections, we can see at the very end of the projections, it kind of start to go back up. So we're in a position where we have to respond, transparently, honestly, with compassion and with ruthlessness to the current situation and the current factors. And we have to think about the people that are going to be in our positions 10 years from now and make decisions that help set them up for success. I wouldn't want 10 years from now for the superintendent and the board to be scrambling to put portables everywhere because we didn't maintain facilities, for example. That wouldn't be that. We just did that. We just did that 10 years ago, and now we're able to move students back into buildings and out of portables. So I think that would be is just to share the information as much as we can about this is a difficult situation that nobody would choose to have to face. We're also not facing it alone. Being at WASDA or with WASDA in Olympia this past weekend, in spite of what some newspapers of record may have stated about districts with surpluses, they do not have surpluses. I mean, you can look on pretty much any Washington State school district website and, Google Everett School District budget. You will see them talking about needing to make a 10% reduction. You will hear Mercer Island talking about, do we need to close one of our 4 elementary schools? You will hear Shoreline talking about 10% budget. Like it's not just us. But that also doesn't mean that we get to say, well, it's not just us. Like, somebody come save us. Like, we need to save us. We need to save us and deal with the reality of what we're dealing with. But we need to do it with compassion for the public, centered on our students, and be absolutely ruthless about things that are not working to support students, and stop spending money on them.
I would add a number 6 on the board directive, something to the effect of a demonstrative, data-heavy replaying of the fiscal tape to prove impact on student outcomes.
Say that one more time, please.
It's not a good sentence, but demonstrative data heavy replaying of the fiscal tape to prove positive impact on student outcomes. And I mean that as a matter in the same way that these other things are kind of about a cultural shift in how we operate and resource. And we do now have, better access to actuals, to real data at the building level, and need to push ourselves on that so we can see what's actually working. Otherwise,
I would like to see, and maybe this falls under display, fiscal stewardship and responsibility, but clear, plain language, accurate information about what's going on with the budget. So like as we're having these conversations, like even for me as a board director, sometimes it's hard to track with some of our lingo. So like it would be great to have a one-pager produce, and I don't know, I'm just saying, like, I need something in my hands to help me like crystallize this conversation when I take it back to community. As a reminder, we're standing up community engagement tomorrow, 3 p.m. So please make sure that you're there if you're on the committee, and if not, please join us. But if we are going to be in a proactive sense, I'm speaking from the board's perspective, to have these conversations and like make sure that folks understand what the changes are and what the changes aren't. Having really clear, plain language conversations that's easily disseminable, easily shareable would be super helpful for me to be able to do those things effectively.
So as I'm capturing sympathetically ruthless, demonstratively playing back the tape, plain and clear language, can we commit this to a resolution or some sort? I mean,
We'd have to,
or however we can formalize this. That would be ideal. So
there's a way that we
may
can do
not
it.
be the right approach, but based on Director Harris's look, that's not the right approach. But however we can do this to commit it to superintendent, these are the things that we need you to make happen.
That makes a lot of sense, because then that gives you clarity on where you need to work from, and I totally agree with that. I don't necessarily think a resolution probably is the best way to go about that, but what I will do is I will call AJ and I will see, like, within a student outcomes focused governance framework or lens, what is the best way to give you the clarity that you need to move forward in writing that has a vote on it, so that we can all be accountable to it. So that request has been heard loud and clear. So let me just do some digging to figure out what's the best pathway forward for that.
Two very unpopular suggestions that I suspect my colleagues will not agree with. One, how soon can you and your senior leadership team get a meeting with the Seattle Times editorial board together? Because part of what we have been struggling with is our message and our messaging. And that filters all the way down to Olympia. And I'm really so sick of hearing from my legislative friends that think that we're knuckleheads, because we're not. And I resent it, and it makes me incredibly angry. Second, when are we going to have the intestinal fortitude to sue the good state again for their underfunding of special education? It is as criminal without being criminal as you can get. That's not based on need. It's based on some funky formula, and it goes through the meat grinder in Olympia, and we're the ones that are trying to put all 10 fingers and 10 toes in the dike. And we're failing our students. And how we can say that McCleary fixed things is ludicrous to me. And, while we're at it, if we want to do a resolution, let's do a resolution about all the craziness in the state system and Sunday's newspaper and all the different layers. I've said it to Chris before. I'll say it probably till I'm a dead woman. You come walk a mile in my high heels, pal, and don't tell me that Seattle is quote unquote different. I resent it. It makes me angry. And what's going on in our so-called paper of record isn't helping us one darn bit. Like I said, I figured it'd be unpopular.
No, I don't necessarily think it's unpopular, but I do have a question that I'd like to ask back, if that's okay. And not necessarily to Director Harris, but to the board. My question is let's, in my head, I'm trying to play this over, right? Because nobody from the ed board called any of us to get any type of feedback on what they were running. I feel as though that the real question that I'm asking here is, how do we separate what we know is fact from what folks will report? Because that's the nature of the editorial board. They have the right to report what their opinion is. My confusion is because it doesn't serve the purpose of a paper, which is to get engagement, to write glowing reviews about Seattle Public Schools. That's not going to get clicks. That's not going to get comments. For me, what I'm trying to understand is, for us, habits and patterns are hard to break. And it is a habit and pattern of not exclusively the Seattle Times, but every news organization, regardless of the state that you're in, to bash the largest school district in the state because they usually take up the most resources. What my confusion is that the reason that that's dangerous, and the reason that and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Harris, but it makes a lot of misinformation that makes our job even more difficult. It makes us non-credible, right? So I'm not volunteering my time to be up here to lie to people. I know y'all aren't spending time away from your families to tell people fibs or whatnot. So what I'm really trying to figure out is do we have the capacity to lift up our own messaging in a way that not necessarily needs to I think that we could do a better job of releasing plain language information around what is and what is not happening. And you and I have had this conversation before. If we do not do that, then people are going to make up whatever it is that they want. And so I think, from my perspective, just pumping out, even if it's the same information over and over again about what it is we're trying to do, how are we defining these things, I think is going to be critical, once we get that definition locked in, and then be able to at least link things back to our work, be able to show our work in these instances is going to pay dividends. But at some phase, Seattle Times is going to say what the Seattle Times want to say. We still got a lot of work to do, and whether people want to believe it or not, I mean, and we've had this conversation too, the numbers are what the numbers are. And we gotta figure this out. And I think that at some phase, community is either going to be able to come along with us or they're not. But we need to be able to stand on our 2 feet and ensure that we gave as much information as possible. And so while I'm concerned about the Seattle Times article in that instance, I'm more concerned with okay, what were the conditions that we as a board created to allow that article to exist without also there being a very clear, I don't even know what the word is, document, article of our own, I don't know, a very clear body of information to where a person could go and say oh, that's what the Seattle Times thinks. What does the Seattle Public Schools have to say about this? I think that finding a way for us to be able to communicate those things more efficiently, readily, often, all those things. And it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be much. We just say what it is we're doing, our guiding principles, so to speak, around those things. And we're in the midst of developing that. But as we get to more a solidified foundation of how we are communicating what these changes are and aren't, I think we're just going to have to be more nimble in putting that information out and sharing it out. Like, we should be blasting this to every paper in the, county, basically, because Seattle Public Schools impact is far reaching. And if they run it, cool. If they don't, I don't care. But we do need to have some strong body of information where folks can go to get a clear understanding of what is and isn't happening. And I don't know if we have that yet.
I just want to note the audit committee received it earlier today, and then it should be posting tomorrow in preparation for Monday's internal audit meeting, but a 90-page communications audit that was requested by Superintendent Jones and Communications Director. So that's self-work that our staff is doing in the area of continuous improvement to answer those questions, to go out and have an outside firm and use our internal audit process that we set up to be a higher value, district-centered, continuous improvement support. And so it's a lot, but it will then immediately get into the hopper for what are the how staff are going to follow up on those recommendations. So that would, the first time that staff will be reporting on that is in June. And but I would just say, as soon as you get that, take a look at it so that we know, well, what does an outside entity say when they look at what people are saying. And they did focus groups, and well, you can all look at it, but so just to encourage you to take a look at that and use that so that we're not just guessing, right? And hopefully get to a place where we have some sort of, at least like you said, a ready response for that, or the facility to have a response that is informative and just like, here's the work we're doing and trying to do better. So I'm really grateful to staff for making sure that happened, because that's a lot of work and self-reflection, and then it's on us in audit to make sure it gets implemented. Well, it's on the superintendent, but
I wonder, can I ask a question back specifically around the audit findings? My brain is like, I am struggling to find appropriate adjectives, or not even adjectives, can't even get the damn word right, verbs. I am trying to, or at least what makes a lot of sense to me would be to take some elements of that. I could see some intersectionality with the community engagement task force, just in like looking through like what are some of those opinions in terms at the front end of what we're doing starting tomorrow. When is, you said it's going to be available at your meeting tomorrow?
no, our meeting's on Monday.
Your meeting's
the
on
committee
Monday.
already got
Great.
it, but it posts tomorrow.
It posts tomorrow.
Right, Julia, by 5. So, but I can send
That would be great. Meeting's on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, don't listen to me.
Yeah, that'd be great. Point being, just for tracking purposes, if we could get some time on the March 15th meeting, I believe is the next meeting for the Community Engagement Task Force, to talk about that a little bit. Just want to make sure that I didn't lose that thread.
Or you can, well, we'll talk.
We have we got a
Is
big
it on the agenda
tomorrow.
for Tuesday? The audit
so
report
Bev-
findings?
Bev is-
it is on the agenda. So, yeah.
Bev is planning
Tuesday.
a rollout with a full response to all that. So you all can read it. That's fine. But know that Bev is planning to kind of present it with our response. It's just there's a lot of information in there, and she's been processing as I have as well. What are we going to do about it? And
Right.
so it's rich information. Some of it's hurtful. No, I'm just joking. It's fine.
Surprise.
We wanted to be transparent. We wanted to
Yeah.
get out here and be vulnerable, to understand what the challenge is. We've heard you all as board members say time and time again, communication. So we took the step to get a third party to kind of do the analysis. And so it's there, and I have great faith in Bev and her, how she's going to respond to it. So how we're going to respond to it.
That's great.
Yeah.
And yeah, please come to the audit. Is it really on Tuesday and not Monday? And I have to go pick up a kid, but so come to the audit meeting, please, because we have a lot of both audit and audit response. Hopefully, we will have finalized the contract for the student safety audit. That is the safety audit that's being done relative to between employee and students, and that contract, I can't speak to it because I don't think it's been finalized yet, unless it got finalized today, but we're just waiting for final inking, and we should be able to talk about that. But there's the transportation, we're doing special attention item on the sexual or Title IX task force recommendation that staff has agreed to present on, so thank you. And yeah, please attend if you can. It's at 4 o'clock.
It's a Teams meeting, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Further conversation can probably be had offline. Thank you, everybody, for the way that you showed up today. This was a great discussion. As there is no further business on the agenda, the meeting stands adjourned at 6:38 p.m. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
We have a fourth grader and a first grader, so this is prime demographic, and this is the time to start feeding kids and exposing them to everything you can.
On about 6 different shows on Food Network.
I'm hanging out at South Shore PK 8 to interact with students, to hang out with my friends from nutrition, and also bringing some Schwann's dumplings for lunch. You know, being on Food Network and also being involved in school nutrition previous to TV, I think it's really a fun, these opportunities are really fun for me, so I can actually, bring it back, bring, some television, celebrity right into schools.
Overall, in the noodle dishes, I think your cook is spot on.
And hopefully inspire, and if not, nurture, feed. Food hits you so deep, and that I think everyone's going to take something different away from it.
This is an apple. Yeah, I know, crazy, right?
Culinary services here is outstanding, by the way. They set up this phenomenal kind of exotic fruit demonstration, and I think it's important because food is a way to share culture, and it's non-political, it's non-controversial, and again, I think Seattle's such a melting pot, similar to LA, similar to so many cities, that it allows different kids to get to know each other better and get to know each other's cultures better.
Dragon fruit grows on a vine.
My kids are simple eaters. I don't push. They want mac and cheese and nuggets and fries. And I know as long as we're exposing them, like culinary services is, they'll get there, right? They'll get there on their own. Like the core of what we do as chefs is we feed people what they want, what they'll eat, and not force them.
So I'm just toasting everything.
I had grandparents that owned restaurants, parents that owned restaurants, both in China and in Thailand. My family emigrated here in 1966 to LA. We started restaurants immediately in the 70s. So as a restaurant kid, I think that was my path from the beginning.
I'm gonna teach you how to make fried rice. So
I think food to so many cultures, including my culture, isn't just sustenance.
Golden strawberry.
Ooh, fancy. I've never had a golden strawberry.
Yum.
Yum. I can't wait to try one.
Mealtime is gathering time. It's time you usually open. You're either on a break, you're relaxing, and that's the time to tell stories. So, I'm here to tell some stories during mealtime.
And I love grapes and avocado. Do you like grapes and avocado?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're some of my favorite.
The most important thing is, I think with the kids, and even, I think we forget the faculty and teachers and administrators as well. I think, my wife 15-year special ed teacher. My mother-in-law, 30-year LAUSD child psychologist. So my job is also to tell them thank you. My job as a chef, as a culinarian, is to create memories and to create experience. And you know, the memories that you have around food are the ones that I think are hit deep. And hopefully we're doing some of that today.
Hello, I'm Dr. Brent Jones, Superintendent of Seattle Public Schools. In the coming years, our district is facing a significant projected budget deficit. This presents some serious challenges, but also an opportunity for improvement. Our mission to meet academic outcomes and sustain inclusive and welcoming school communities for our students has only grown in importance and urgency. Ensuring our district is accountable and responsible stewards of public funds is central to that work. I'd like to talk to you about our challenges and the opportunities we have to develop a budget that will allow us to fund our future. Funding our future means we are using a balanced and equitable budgeting process. Student enrollment has declined since 2017, while student support needs have increased, especially these years following the pandemic. Enrollment is expected to continue to decline over the next few years. We are working to stabilize our financial future to be sure we can fund our highest priorities. This spring, we are working to develop a comprehensive, multi-year, balanced budget that incorporates solutions. SPS is dedicated to provide a just and equitable education for all students, especially those students who are furthest from educational justice. We will not put that principle aside in this process. We are reviewing and analyzing data and looking at all possible solutions and prioritizing high-quality education and learning. That said, we will have to make tough choices. Our resources must match our revenue. I know these are some of the toughest topics school districts face because these are not just jobs. Real people will be affected. Our proposed budget will be presented to the school board in May. The budget will enable us to maximize our resources and programs for students and keep our district solvent. We will reduce spending to ensure the future sustainability of our district and not spending beyond our means. We are taking steps to increase enrollment by ensuring we offer a system of well-resourced schools, meaning our schools are the right size to offer a broad spectrum of resources and educational choices. And we will continue to advocate to our state legislature to fully fund public education. As an organization, we have never been clearer about our strategic direction and our commitment to serve. Seattle Public Schools is the educational home to 50,000 students. Opportunity begins here. Our schools remain a great place for students to learn. We are here to make sure every student graduates prepared for college, career, and community. I encourage everyone to stay informed. You can learn more, including about opportunities to join community information sessions and how to watch upcoming school board work sessions at seattleschools.org/budget. Thank you.
Understanding the past, and so the past has to be preserved, and even the past, like this moment, needs to be preserved. My name is Taves, it rhymes with saves, and that's what I do, save records and memorabilia and important documents. I was able to help people find things, make sure that things were preserved correctly and for the right length of time, in some cases forever, either through microfilm or scanning or just in archival conditions. I came at a difficult time. The school district was closing schools. So suddenly I had to go to each of these schools, make sure that records were kept, including ephemera and anything that alumni want to have or look at again. I had to fight for a lot of things. I won't make any bones about it. I really did. First, I had to be educated, and I had to prove that I could do it. There are so many changes now, and the team that's there now, they know so much, especially in the area of electronic records. That's when I figured my time was up.
Through an item we had on tonight's consent agenda, we had the honor of naming our district Records and Archives Center for Seattle Public Schools, first district archivist.
It was my pleasure, with the help of many who supported me and encouraged me to do my job. It's an incredible honor, and they planned it all without me knowing a single thing.
She never left the district. She's extremely active, extremely brilliant, and just really was so dedicated to the district that she continued her work with the scholarship fund. I became quickly familiar with her because she was always popping in to say hi.
Did I tell you about the time John did research at Library of Congress?
And it was really great when I was able to say, do you want to just start working with me and just start volunteering with me and continue processing, and I can glean your expertise and you can help me out, and then we can work together on certain things.
I was happy that after I retired, they welcomed me back to do little projects, and I'll keep coming as long as I can.
There's nothing better than to actually see it in action, to talk to the school leaders, to talk to the educators who are in the classrooms, and to be able to walk into a classroom and see all the things that we talk about in concept right there in action is really good.
Yes, Superintendent.
Mayor Harrell, were you, Dr. Dwayne Chappelle, the director for the Department of Education and Early Learning, has come with us on this trip, and we were able to go into schools and actually see how these investments are actually playing out in classrooms.
You saw the high expectations, you saw the clear learning targets, you saw routines, procedures, and it was just a great thing.
Kind of pay attention to what our needs are, what our kids' needs are. Also to see the kinds of things we're focused on, and I heard the superintendent say, like many times, like, how can we support your work? And so it's both a way to connect downtown with the school, and also like some affirmations for what we're doing here.
Are we doing meaningful work? Is this relevant work? And then we can calibrate from time to time as to what we need to do to make things even better. So it's really good to be in classrooms.
yeah, there's a lot of things that we're looking at in terms of how the classrooms work and how our teachers are working together. So super excited. It feels like it's really aligned with how the district is focused around inclusion in particular.
So the kick drum jumps. I'm the perfect beat, the perfect rhyme, keeping everything on point, always on time. But you already do that.
It's extremely fantastic getting out into the schools because we get a chance to see the investments in partnership with Seattle Public Schools that we've seeded and watch just like the amazing work happen.
The partnership between the city of Seattle and Seattle Public Schools is critical. We are one city. The mayor talks about one Seattle. We're part of that togetherness around how are we elevating our students who will soon to be leaders in our city.
It's a beautiful partnership. We have an amazing superintendent, amazing mayor. Superintendent has some very, very ambitious but very tangible goals. The mayor talks about One Seattle in partnership that our scholars, our amazing teachers and administrators are going to be supported right now. Walking through these two schools a few moments ago, something that just really resonated with me was it dawned on me that it's been a rough 2 years, right, for our amazing students, but to see them in the classroom, to see them flourishing, to see these amazing teachers and administrators in front of them, getting them back into the groove of things was awesome. Just as soon as you walk in the building, you know, you can tell, you can feel the love, you can feel the warmth. And then when you walk in the classroom, you can see kids are happy. They're loving being in front of their teachers, hearing books and so forth. So it was great.
Flip, flop, flee. Everybody running to the coming alongside of the City of Seattle partners so they can see it as well. So when they're doing their decision making, when they're doing their budgeting, when they're doing their allocations and thinking about ways to partner with us best, they can see it too. So going in tandem with the city has been really helpful.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burgess.
Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
A bystander is someone who sees something happen but isn't involved in it.
Bystander intervention is when a bystander observes a harmful situation, steps in, and tries to help. It's a way of looking out for others' safety, but it can be difficult to do sometimes.
I think something that often really prevents people from intervening in situations like this is the possibility that they will get physically or emotionally harmed or just experience some kind of general backlash.
I might be afraid that I'm actually making it more dangerous.
The fear of being wrong and the fear of getting in the way of something that you don't have anything to do with.
It can be super scary. I know it has been for me in the past, and sometimes I doubt myself into thinking it's not my place to intervene or people will get mad at me, and that stops me. There's a huge amount of social pressure that forces people to go along with situations that they're uncomfortable with and prevents them from speaking up, especially if the people who are causing harm are their friends.
Bystander intervention is important because everyone is or can be a bystander at some point, and if you don't see yourself as someone who could stick up for a person or a situation, then it's not likely other people will either.
And maybe realizing hey, I wouldn't speak up either. I would need someone from the outside to intervene and help me.
Everyone has the power to help a situation, and so we should be equipped to do so.
With bystander intervention, it lets people be seen and it lets people be heard.
Using distract in a bystander context means to bring up something completely different in order to try and de-escalate the situation.
To diffuse a situation is to get outside help to interfere in a situation that maybe you don't have the capacity to step in for.
Direct bystander intervention is going into a harmful situation and confronting it head on, whether it's asking someone to stop doing what they're doing or calling out disrespectful behavior. You do it directly. An example of that would be that person asked you to stop touching them, so get away from them.
Let me go find a teacher.
In terms of a direct response, I think that when it is safe for you and the victim, it is okay to say, this isn't okay and I need for you to stop.
Hey, I noticed their conversation was getting pretty intense in there. Does anyone have an idea of like how to interrupt them?
Asking a question like, oh, can you come to the bathroom with me? Or can you help me find something? And pulling the victim to the side and asking them if they're okay and how you can help while the perpetrator of the violence is distracted.
Hey, I think your car outside is getting a ticket. You should go check it out. I pledge to continue to work on making sure that people are getting home safe if they seem to be in an unsafe situation.
I pledge to intervene in any situation involving someone taking advantage of another person.
I pledge to speak up when someone gets misgendered in class.
I pledge to intervene if I ever see cyberbullying.
I'm into it because I believe in the power of education. I believe in the power and the wisdom and the strength of our children. And I can't think of personally anything more important. My mom, she asked me to explain it to her after I had done it for a little bit. And I was trying to break it down. I said, well, I do this and I do that. And she wasn't getting it. And she's not an educator. So if you say, oh, I go to IEP meetings, I do MDTs, I do this and that, and it just was not resonating. Finally, I said, Mama, I'm a fighter. If a kid is in trouble, I help them get out of trouble. If they're not doing well in school, I help them figure out how to do well in school. If a kid wants to go to college, I help them figure out how to get to college. I said, if a kid is struggling at home, I help them figure out resources to get straight. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she got it. So yes, I'm a fighter, but fighter has kind of a negative connotation. And I'm definitely a fighter, but I use my powers for good. In my chair like this. And I was being very professional. Teach somebody all the great skills for classroom management or all the theories about how to do an anticipatory set. And I can teach you all the different, Bloom's taxonomy or all the multiple intelligences and all of this. But if you first and foremost don't have a heart for kids, it doesn't make any difference. And if you don't know how to read a room full of a bunch of different personalities, it doesn't matter. Don't try to pull me off task, y'all. You're mean. We find those people with a heart for kids. It's important on us educators that have been around forever to kind of nurture that, lift that up, because I know I want my children and my children's children to have those type of people around them, and we're burning them out. The work we do is such important work. I have strong feelings about education. I think it's holy work. It's important work. And I think when people do holy, sacred things, it needs to be treated as such. Your voices matter, but they've got to be true, all right?
Come in this class, it makes you want to come to school. It makes you want to, be here every day. And then when you leave, you're reminded of who you are and what your culture is and what your people stood for.
It's always like a second home for me.
Coming into this class, I feel like myself, and I feel like I can just get a lot of things done when I'm here. It's really powerful, and I want to be here.
When I walk in here, I'm like, oh, I'm not my second home. Miss Boo and Mr. Cam, they really took the time to get to know me and still do. And it's really cool. It's a warm place. Everyone wants to be warm. Everyone wants to be in here. You want to come in here. You want to feel comfortable and you want to feel happy.
What impresses me is somebody who wants to be their authentic self. And whatever that looks like for them, that's what I get excited about. I think that can take a variety of forms. I do believe in education because I think education opens our eyes to opportunities. Right? I think when we go on to higher education, sometimes we have the opportunities to meet people who think differently than we do or have a different worldview than we do. I think when that happens, then our worldviews open and we might see things in ways we didn't previously. When that happens, then we learn more about ourselves. I want my students to feel good about who they are. And in order to feel good about who they are, we have to know ourselves. And as Native peoples, we are given so many messages about who we are. And oftentimes they're not good. We are bombarded as Native peoples and as women too, with all of these messages that are not true. And so I spend a lot of time in my class reminding kids our ancestors didn't endure what they did so we could think small. And you can do hard things. So yeah, I push them and I make them angry. I'm okay if they get upset with me. I tease them sometimes. I'll say, especially to my seniors, I'll say, welcome to your senior year. Expect to get upset with me. I push and I push and I push that they go, Miss Boo, you're driving me nuts. But inevitably what happens is they all come back and they say thank you.
You know, she just sets higher standards for all of us. And it's like a great motivation to have somebody at school that believes in you and actually pushes you, to do better.
She's always open to help and support you.
Miss Boo helped me become more confident into myself and to speak out louder.
Miss Boo is the biggest reason why I got into UW. If it wasn't for her, I don't really know where I'd be.
Have you been trying to figure that out this whole time? Yeah. I'm not here to be their friend. They will often call me auntie. I have one this year who calls me grandma. It's the first time. It just happened this year. And I'm okay with that because nobody loves you like your grandma, right? And I'm honored by it. Grandmas are the best. But your aunties and your grandmas, they'll push you because they expect good things from you. Say, give me something. Say, I know my birth family now, that my grandmother survived Indian boarding schools, or baby concentration camps, as I call them. And I think how terrific it would be for her to know that her granddaughter spends her day reminding babies, reminding our Native youth that they're strong and that they're smart and to be proud of where they come from. When somebody tried to take that out of her.
I feel like this class really just taught me, don't forget where you come from and be proud of it.
Our ancestors didn't endure what they did so we could think small. If you think about what Native people have endured and it would continue to endure, we can do big things. And I see it in my kids, and so I expect it from them. In fact, I expect one of them to go off to college and come and take my job. That's the goal. That's my selfish goal.
It is really good for that.
Just wake up your body.
Fresh air.
It gives you exercise. I would encourage anyone to walk to school with a walking school bus.
Walking on the school bus because we want our kids go to school on time, and we want to let the kids just have fun with the neighbor, they know each other from the same building or maybe another building that we are the same community.
So here at Bailey Gatsa, we promote the big three: home, school, and community. So when you think about the walking school bus, it's the epitome of the big three working in tandem. One, to keep our students safe. Two, to get them here on time because of attendance purposes. And three, builds community. As you see, from Yesler to 10th, the group just converged and they all walk together, laughing and smiling and joking. So that is what the walking school bus promotes here at Gatsa.
This walking school bus program first launched with Seattle Department of Transportation providing a grant through the Seattle Central Neighborhood Greenways. And so in partnership with that organization, we've been able to train leaders and provide a stipend and give kids swag and promote walking together with their neighborhood friends and coming to school on time.
Sometimes the kids is not on time, we have to knock the door because we know each other already that this kid at this apartment or this unit, so we can call, text to the parent and ready to go on the lobby, or maybe we knock on in front of your door.
But it's nothing like having a neighbor to walk to school with. So that kind of encourage families. Okay, I can send him with this person because I trust them. I see them on a daily basis. Again, it's growing in this building, and we're looking forward to this major momentum.
Once they're here on time, they can have breakfast and they can get ready to learn.
That is what I tell families: drop them off or walk with the school bus. We can take everything else to the next level. I just need them to hear butts in the seat to make a difference.
Let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries are limits people set for themselves. Boundaries are about thinking through what's okay for you, what you feel comfortable with, and letting other people know. Boundaries are not about telling others what to do. They're about telling others how do you like to be treated.
Every person has boundaries. And so just as you would want someone to respect your boundaries, it's important that you respect other people's boundaries.
When setting boundaries, it's important to notice how you feel about something. If something makes us feel uncomfortable or breaks a rule, we may set a boundary. It's also important to notice how other people feel and to listen to them when they set a boundary.
Some common boundaries include how close people can be to our bodies, what body parts are okay to touch, what activities we want to participate in, and the information we share in the words and phrases we choose to use.
People often have boundaries with physical contact. For example, some people may like to hug everyone. Some people may like to only hug their family. And some people may not like to hug anybody.
Another example of a boundary is the personal space around a person. Sometimes that looks like an invisible space around a person's body, like a bubble. No one should go inside another person's bubble unless they say it's okay.
What to do if you cross someone's boundaries? We've all crossed someone's boundaries in the past, probably without even knowing it. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as you try your best. If you cross somebody's boundary, apologize. Let the person know that you'll do better next time and change your behavior. It's your responsibility to try and not cross others' boundaries.
What to do if someone crosses your boundaries? Maybe someone has crossed your boundaries. If that has happened, you can let the other person know that they have crossed a boundary with you. Tell them how you would like to be treated.
It can also be helpful to reach out to a trusted adult like a parent, older sibling, family friend, school counselor, teacher, or a coach if you need help.
Remember, personal boundaries are important for building healthy relationships. Boundaries are meant to be respected.
Hi guys, welcome to SPS-TV with Culinary Services. My name is Tina and we are making veggie tagine today. We are using locally sourced ingredients and your everyday ingredients that you can find at your local grocery store or just ingredients that you already have in your pantry. Ingredients for today's recipe includes vegetable oil, minced garlic, tomato paste, coriander, black pepper, turmeric, a veggie stock mixed with salt, curry, chili powder, chopped fresh parsley, and we have our veggie stock here. and our butternut squash, our Yukon gold potatoes, garbanzo beans, and our cut butternut squash, and our canned apricot, our diced tomatoes, and our potatoes also already cut for the pot, and some diced onions. So we are going to start on medium heat today. And our first step is to add in our vegetable oil, and then add in our onion. Followed by our garlic. And followed by our tomato paste. And then we're gonna add in all of our spices, including the chopped parsley. So coriander goes in first, our veggie stock and salt, our turmeric, black pepper, our curry, our chili powder. For the chili powder, I measured out 1 tablespoon, but you can use less or more if you'd like. This recipe isn't supposed to be spicy, but if you want a bit more kick, feel free to do so. And I don't, so I'm just gonna save a little more and add it later maybe. And then chopped parsley. And after adding all of the spices, you should have a yellowish orange color. We will then add our tomatoes, followed by our potatoes, followed by our butternut squash, and followed by garbanzo beans. Right. So this is a simple 1-pot recipe that takes anywhere from 40 minutes to 1 hour, depending on how you chop up how you cut your potatoes and butternut squash. In my case, I did a medium cut, so it should be cooked in about 45 minutes. So this is the result of adding in all of our ingredients except our broth and apricot. So then at this point you add in your broth, and you just want enough to cover all of the ingredients in here. So that, and then you of course always want to taste to see if you need to add a little bit more spices, or if you need to, fix something. For instance, if you over salted, you would just add a little bit more sugar to tame that salt. And I'm gonna try it. It's perfect. So it's been about 40 minutes now, and our stew has cooked down. So at this stage is where we will add in the apricots without the syrup. So you can chop your apricots if you'd like, but I prefer to just use it half. So then we stir this. So the apricots add a sweetness, a gentle sweetness, and a little tart to it. So some people like to mince their, just cut up their apricots in here just so that it's evenly distributed and everyone gets a piece. So after adding the apricot, we will let it go for about 10 more minutes, and then it's ready to serve. So our stew is finally done, and you can have the stew as is, or you can have it with couscous or rice. Oh yeah, you can also have it with a baguette or any type of bread that you like. So you have your option of rice, couscous, or bread. But I am going with bread today. All right. Oh yeah, this was really good. So this recipe was served to Seattle Public School students. It went out to 6 schools and the kids really, really enjoyed it. We got awesome feedback from it. So this is definitely something that we will keep featuring for Seattle Public Schools.
Seattle Super Reader? Yes, I'm talking to you. What are you doing this summer? Going to the park? Playing ball? How about reading? Let books take you on an adventure. Travel to new places. Meet new friends. Build your superpowers by reading every day. And become a Seattle Super Reader. I want you on the team. Want to learn more? Ask an adult to visit the Seattle Public Schools website. Let's get reading.
Good morning. Thank you. And welcome everybody to Seattle Public Schools 2023 Black History Month flag raising. My name is Manala Lansi. I serve as the director of the Department of Racial Equity Advancement in Seattle Public Schools. Shout out to the Drea team. And the Thriving Center in AAMA. I want to thank you all. Let me know my height. Okay. I want to thank you all for joining together today in celebration of Black history. We have all been through quite a bit as a nation, as a community, and as a school district, particularly over these last few years, both triumph and tragedy, isolation through the pandemic to finally having a chance to be back in community in person. And with all of that, Black history, Black culture, and Black people continue to bring so much to celebrate and honor. Thank you all, sincerely, the SPS students, the SPS staff, the families, the communities, for leading with love and connection today as we celebrate Black History Month 2023 and raise the Pan-African flag in recognition of where we are, where we've been, and where we are going. Also, I would like you all to be very intentional in celebrating the beautiful Black culture and community, the global community that we are all a part of. Happy Black History Month from the Department of Racial Equity Advancement in Seattle Public Schools. Now please welcome Anita Koramwamba, the manager of the Black Education Program, to the stage.
So I'm so happy to be here. I'm looking at beautiful faces. I'm looking at our friends, colleagues, and for our students that are out there participating with us, our staff members, all those who will watch this after this event, we want you to know we stand in solidarity with you. When bad things happen, coming together and sharing our humanity is what makes us get better and rise above our challenges. So as you heard, I'm the manager for the Black Education Program, part of which is Black Studies. We are thrilled that our scholars are getting Black Studies this year. And we can already see, yeah, woo! And we urge people not to be fearful of these lessons, right? Loving Black is not hating anybody else. Loving Black is including Black, is saying there's a history we have in common, and our humanity matters. To that end, I want to speak about our theme today, which is the theme about Ubuntu. A lot of people talk about Ubuntu, but they don't quite know exactly what it means. And one of the challenges is a linguistic challenge. When you come from one of the oldest groups of people in the world, there's so much retained in your language that does not translate into European languages and cannot convey the depth of feeling, thought, philosophy, care, love, empathy. So Ubuntu includes all those ideas. It tells us that my humanity is meaningless if there's no reflection from another's humanity. And so we want to be mindful that there's an energetic piece that we all share. And for many cultures, we read people. We don't need concrete evidence in writing or in all kinds of other things. But for those who do need that concrete evidence, I just want to share that one of my mentors, and a gentleman I love profoundly, happens to be here with us today. And I would be remiss if I did not pause and recognize Dr. Edwin Nichols, who was gracious enough to say yes, to come and spend some time with me, with our team, and also sharing with me some of these conceptions. His work is in looking at the epistemology of how we know things, looking at logic systems, and helping us understand our axiology and understanding our origin and our beginnings, and how our environment shapes who we are. But our fundamental humanity is one and the same. So the question for me is, why do we engage and indulge conflicts that are harmful to many of us? What is it that allows systems to replicate themselves? And where do the interruptions come in? And when it's uncomfortable to interrupt those systems, how can you tap into your Ubuntu? How can you look at me without the scales, without the barriers, without the walls, and recognize my pain as your pain as my pain? The love I have for humanity can bring out a similar love that you have for humanity. There should be no hierarchies in people, only care, love, and advancement. What are we doing for the 7 generations coming? How are we practicing this spirit that holds at its core concepts of empathy, love, and care? Love is not a feeling. Love is a verb. How you treat me tells me whether you love me or not. Right? So when we are in these schools, when we're in classrooms, when we are sitting in our offices, even here in the central office, how do you centralize the children we serve? What will that child remember as their experience when they are adults? Will they remember the love they experienced, or will they remember the exclusion and have a sense of belonging or not? That is up to us. So the spirit of Ubuntu demands that you always look deep inside yourself, recognize your own humanity, be courageous enough to be open and share that humanity with others. We can work through anything if we care enough about each other without obstacles and barriers. So just want to say thank you so much. This event has profound meaning for me. I want to honor the ancestors who made these things possible. I want to recognize Marcus Garvey for the red, black, and green that many of us can now hold together and see a symbol of our collective ways of being. Again, just to close, I want to remind us that loving Black is not hating others. We all, whether you're Black or not, have a responsibility to love Black. Love is a verb. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen Anita. So now what we're going to do is collectively sing the Black National Anthem. If I could actually have all of the CLBC members come up to the podium and we will link arm in arm and sing this Black National Anthem together, unified. So if you are CLBC, please step to the podium and together, tighten together. Look. What is CLBC stand for? Central Office Black Caucus is our CLBC, and we will collectively. I see how I like how y'all divided right behind this podium. Look right here. Go ahead. Yep. Tag right. Look. Right. Come on. Tighten up. Tighten up. Tighten up. Tighten up. Come on. Yep. Come on. Pull right in. All right then. And then Edgar, once you're ready, you can hit the track. Thank you. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all. Out from the moon to the Central Office Black Caucus Committee members, as well as our members. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now we will bring to the mic Sister Beverly Redmond.
Happy Black History Month. Hello, everybody. Hello. One more time. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right. Hey, all right. To my sisters, my brothers, my sorors, my frats, my D9 sister and brother Greeks, my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, our friends, our allies, our kings, our queens. Welcome to Black History Month. It is an amazing time. And when I say amazing, that doesn't mean it's always all good, but we make it good. We've done it throughout our history. We make it good. We've heard about Ubuntu. And for me, that means that I'm not okay if you're not okay. I'll say it again, and you all look at each other. I'm not okay if you're not okay. We've had some not so okay moments, but we're coming into a new space, a different space that we haven't been in before. And I want you to say that that's okay. We've got lots of work to do. We've seen some pain in the last few days. My heart's heavy, your heart may be heavy too. But we must take the time, and I'm giving my sister who has a camera over here some credit, Sister Scribner, for saying, yep, T-Scribs, you choose joy. It is a conscious choice, and today we choose to celebrate what we know and what we live 365. To be Black, as was said, is not to hate anybody else. It's to love us. And that, my sisters, brothers, cousins, aunties, friends, is all right. And unapologetically so. That was not in my script. What is in my script is to tell you to do not quit. Keep striving. There's a word that became very popular during the pandemic, and it's called pivot. It's your ability to do this at all times. It is the ability to balance and keep moving. Many of you may have played ball, I may have. In order to not travel, you've got to learn how to pivot. Don't stop, don't quit. You may have to indulge in self-care, whatever you need to do, but keep moving. Keep moving. Our ancestors kept it moving with fewer resources. We need to keep moving. The struggle's not done, but for today, for the culture, we take a breath and we celebrate. We won't forfeit these 28 days. Yes, we want more, but we won't forfeit the time. You never get back what you give up. Make good use of this month. Share your story. All of this is not written down, so I'm going to just turn this over. Keep your crown intact, kings, queens. There's a saying, and those of you who may be aligned with my particular faith, it says, allow no one to take your crown. Keep your crown intact. Don't come off of your throne. Don't give up your space. It may require you to be flexible. We may do some different things inside of this year. It may feel not so great at times, but keep your dignity, keep your pride. We will commit to keep moving this place forward with dignity, with focus on our students. That's what we do. 365 Black. That's what we do in February, Black History Month. So as we move forward today, you're going to hear a lot of things, and from some of my colleagues who are more brilliant than I am, but the piece that I can leave you with is pivot. Dig deep and get ready to pivot. You have got so much in you to give, so much knowledge to share. I love you. We love you. There's some things that I want to say, but I'll save it for another speech, another day. Know that you are loved, you're cared about. Doesn't matter where I sit in the building, I love you. I sat in your seats many times. Many of the people that sit on other sides of doors have sat in your seats. I can't be unless you're okay. My ancestors could not be unless I was okay. We have to keep that in our minds. With this, I'm going to relay off. I'm going to pivot. And I'm going to hand it over to a dear sister, Dr. Mia Williams. You know her. She brings a lot of spice. We bring a lot of spice as people. She's the Scotch bonnet to our green pepper. All right? Dr. Mia Williams, please welcome her.
Well, I'm always talking about how the Spirit moves you, and I'd be remiss. We already talked about our elders, but we have one of our kings here, one of our youth, and I do have my speech and I will share it, but I want to just ask Brandon if he would come up and join us to celebrate. We need to share and highlight our kings. So I just have him say a couple words.
First, I want to thank y'all just for being here, because I'm mixed and I grew up in white neighborhoods most of my life, and I heard a lot of all the negative stuff about our people, but looking at you guys, I can see that there's not a bunch of deadbeat fathers in here. There's not a bunch of gangbangers or drug dealers. And if I saw this when I was younger, it would have done a lot for my confidence. And seeing you guys here now, being ready to help the people younger than me, it means a lot to me. And I really appreciate y'all. Keep it up.
So I think we should just go home. That was a mic drop, right? Y'all got to snap it up for that king. That was powerful. Thank you so much, King. Wow, I just have to gather myself. And this is one of our Roosevelt's finest, Black excellence as represented here today. So Black History Month always brings me so much joy. We talked about you get to choose joy. As we celebrate the Black history, culture, and beauty that our Black students, their families, and their communities bring to Seattle Public Schools. Snap it up, y'all. Snap it up for, yes. I've had the honor of serving as the leader of the Office of African American Male Achievement, which gave me the unique opportunity to implement a well-researched targeted universalism strategy that would improve the education and educational experience all students in our district receive by listening to and responding to the perspectives and leaderships of Black boys in SPS. Granted, when the Office of African American Male Achievement first began, it was such an out-of-the-box pursuit and one that seemed so far out, a pivot, right? That it triggered a little bit of apprehensiveness on people's behalf, skepticism, but around effectiveness of centering Black boys. But that discomfort turned into people building their racial equity analysis in pursuit of educational justice for all of our babies, right? Snap it up to that, right? However, 3 years later, we have proven our work and strategy that are not only be important, but impactful. We are all in the movement and continue to deliver on the generations-long calls for equity and justice. Our commitment to listen deeply, sustain student joy in learning, and achieve just schools is seen in our deep relationships, committed educators, stronger accountability systems, and robust curricula and programs. Our ongoing work around cultural identity and mentoring across early learning, STEM, college readiness, and support services to lead from our students and families and communities. As our communities know what they need to thrive, snap it up. Our communities know what they need to thrive, y'all. But I wanted to bring in the voice of one of our 6th grade kings. He said, having equity and giving parents and children what they need, I mean, equality is great, but you need equity. And that's from one of our 6th grade kings. Snap it up for that, y'all. I wanted to take this opportunity to personally thank everyone that supported the Office of AMA for your tenacity, faith, strategy, and solidarity. The Office of African American Male Achievement is historic for SPS. Snap that up, y'all, because we're like one of the few in the nation, in the world. We did this as a collective, and we are making history. I want to make sure that I challenge you because, again, I'm Black 365 days a year, and so are the babies that sit in our classrooms. So I want to ask you what you are going to intentionally do to uplift and support the Black excellence that is sitting before you every single day. So snap that up because I want you thinking about that, and that's for everyone. So happy Black History Month from the Office of African American Male Achievement. And then it is with my overjoyed pleasure to introduce Dr. Keisha Scarlett. And I know I'm gonna get in trouble, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna shout it out that we have the new superintendent of St. Louis Public Schools.
You all funny. My mother is a professional singer, but sometimes she'd be asked to sing at church. She'd always have to take her church hat off. So I thank you all for this opportunity. Happy Black History Month. Happy, happy, happy. I'm just going to share a few things with you. I don't know how much more could be shared after Dr. Williams and Sister Beth shared, but I've been thinking a lot about my family. What's that? Oh, my bun? Okay, it's okay. I just want to be free. Hold on. My goodness, here. What did I say? What, sing, I say, give me free? All right, give me free. All right. So my families and educators and communities conspired to foster a strong racial, spiritual, and academic co-identity to cultivate my genius as a Black girl. They protected my intellectual curiosity, and these identities continue to be protective factors and ignite my lifelong passion for racial justice. So my father had a beauty shop in Rainier Beach. It was called Hair International, and he used to he was a barber and a beautician. I spent a lot of time with my dad. And one of his customers was Dr. Millie Russell. So many of you know Dr. Russell. So Dr. Russell, if you know her, she had, I think, it wasn't even a low-cut Caesar with deep waves. She just went, they was just gone. And so her haircut was real fast, it seemed like, but my dad would hold her in the shop. And so when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I remember my dad, he loved a little bit of theater, so he had me reciting Langston Hughes or doing something. And one day she's like, Keisha, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be? I said, I want to be a doctor, because I thought that sounded real spectacular. And she said, do you know what you need in order to be a doctor? And I was like, no. And she said, well, you have to be really good in math and science. So she starts talking about all kinds of stuff. I can't even really remember, but it feels like some years later, she started picking me up. She started taking me up to University of Washington and showing me the university. By the time I was in middle school, she would put me in summer programs. In high school, she had me flying with her, holding her case to go to a biomedical career symposium in Washington, D.C. I was getting it in, you all. And although my parents were both educated, they didn't know everything that I needed to unlock the keys to what my potential was. And so The thing that I learned most about my parents, who are pastors and have always worked in community, is that my greatness is determined by my service. I've always known that. It's been instilled with me. And that I am a collectivist, and I'm only as good as the person next to me and the people that I have, that I'm supposed to serve in community. And so when I say that, is that maybe not every child gets a chance to come through Maynard, Dr. Maynard and Dr. Carolyn Sofer. But I know that they deserve to come into a community that loves them, that can protect them, and can unlock and protect their genius. That's what we are as a school system. That's what we're supposed to be for our children. That's what their community was. The other thing I know from my family, in the case of Dr. Russell, is that every single thing that our children need comes from their community. They don't need something else. They don't need to evacuate their communities. They are to live a life in order to give back into their community. And so I've experienced too much love and witnessed too much pain not to work toward justice, you all. We have experienced collectively too much love and witnessed too much pain not to work toward justice. I'm not talking about district initiatives. I'm talking about service. When people try to tell me that I'm a dreamer, get my heads out of the clouds, I respond, how dare I not dream? When people try to tell us to be more moderate or palatable or fear anti-CRT retaliation and operate differently in our context, I think about the words from Queen Davita Ingram. I just talked to her a few days ago. She said, we are battling for the hearts and minds of our young people in this 21st century. Our job is to teach history. These attacks in the name of CRT are attacks on memory of racialized trauma, mass murder, kidnap, torture, and rape. These are also attacks on the everlasting hope, survival, and Black joy of Black people at the root of that. That is what anti-Blackness is. So how dare you all we not dream? We all chose to work in the school system, in a system where we cannot look away and do business as usual. We have to dream. We have to radically reimagine, and we have to radically center the possibilities of Black children. Anita said it the very best, Ubuntu. It is humanizing. Loving Black people is humanizing. Black life is humanizing. Black joy is humanizing. Black excellence is humanizing. So don't sit up here and high-five each other and say Ubuntu and go in there and disrespect each other in this building, because I see it way too much. Don't pretend to be in solidarity with people when you're outside and then go in there and disrespect them. Show respect to each other. Even in our differences, we have to move together. That is the only way that we'll affect change for our people and be in service of our children and our families. They deserve that from us. So happy, happy, happy Black History Month, you all. I love you all, each and every one of you, and I'm grateful for what you do. Thank you. Sorry. I was supposed to start with first giving honor to God, the pastor of this house, Superintendent Brent Jones. Come on up, Brother Brent.
Wait, don't go nowhere. Y'all, this is a monumental day, not because it's just Black History Month, but because Dr. Scarlett is the superintendent of St. Louis. I mean, you think about that. Just think about the magnitude of that. A national, international search. And she's gonna bring that fire that she just left here to St. Louis. That is Seattle Black excellence. So when we start talking about these concepts of Black excellence and being Seattle ready, so I do have a speech, but I just want to say I'm going to be inadequate to wrap all this up about what these queens just entered into your space and into your being today. But Ubuntu is I am because of you, and this is us. And so I want to just start out with that. Keisha, Dr. Scarlett is us. This is a manifestation of us. And she also mentioned something just briefly that we kind of get into it a little bit. We argue around the how. We don't argue about the why. We don't argue about the vision. We have a collective vision. And this brother right here, Brandon, is what this is all about. And so when we push and pull and we tug and we scratch and all that and get angry, at the end of the day, it's so we can develop systems so that the outcomes for a cat like Brandon can get what he needs, okay? So I just want to center us before we do that. And you can stay up here if you want to, Keisha. I'll tell you. So I'm going to say my speech, and I'm going to try and stick to the script. And my speech is about, I timed it, it's about 49 minutes. But you all know me, the 5 B's. What are the 5 B's? Be brief, brother, be brief, and that's what I be. So I stand before you to talk about the importance of Black history in our educational system and the role it plays in establishing true equity. As we all know, Black history is essential to American education and American history. However, for far too long, the contributions and the struggles of Black Americans have been overlooked, misunderstood, misrepresented in classrooms and curriculum. This is not only a matter of historical accuracy, but it also has real-world consequences for the education and opportunity available to our and all students. I'm proud that our state has not prevented us from developing curriculum and teaching it. And in fact, we at SPS have taken full advantage of that positive loophole and have created liberatory education, Black studies, and the like, and we're moving this through a system, and we've become, frankly, a national model. So to truly improve our educational system, we need to create more equitable, inclusive classrooms. We must acknowledge and address ongoing systemic barriers that continue to limit opportunities and experiences of Black students and other students as well. This includes the overrepresentation of Black students in special education programs, disciplinary actions, and a lack of Black students and Black administrators leading. So one strategy for addressing this, and this is where Seattle takes the lead in the pole position, is we are actualizing targeted universalism. And we're taking the theory to the action, now to outcomes. And so we have a structure, we have a governance structure, we have a strategic plan that centers all of this. And it is up to us as the collective to make this actualized. So I want to just kind of leave you on a couple things that in this month, the 28 days, I think we need to, as somebody said before me, experience joy. And be intentional about experiencing joy. And have joy in the struggle around this mission that we've all been conscripted in. And so sometimes it's a struggle. But also somebody referenced the book that Beverly reads, and I read it too, and it says, take joy in the struggle. Take joy in our discourse and how we go back and forth to realize this very honorable mission to lift up our students. Seattle Public Schools, I get calls all the time from different superintendents and different people in other districts wondering, how did we center African American boys and young men in our strategic plan? Well, it was simple. We are dedicated to this, and we've had person after person come before us. Dr. Scarlett talked about Millie Russell. There's been so many people that have come before us that have put us in this position so that we can have a forward-thinking, a progressive, an innovative strategic plan. That's all about us. And so I leave you all with a challenge. Let's have joy in establishing new Black history here at Seattle Public Schools because of the progressive things that we're doing to uplift people like Brandon, to uplift our entire community, but our Black history is going to be established today. In Butu, I am because of you, and thank you so much.
All right, all. So now what it is that we'll do is we'll do the procession to the Pan-African flag, and we will, in unity, raise that together. So, Brother Brett Jones, and can I have a sister from our Central Office Black Caucus do the procession with us? We walk together, just one sister. All right, and we'll head to the flag together.
Hi guys, my name's Tina Fambule and I am with Culinary Services with Seattle Public Schools, and today we are making a beet and spinach salad with cilantro vinaigrette topped with walnuts and goat cheese. We're super excited to make this. It's such a simple recipe that you can make it in anywhere from 20 minutes or 45 minutes depending on how you're making your beets. So we have our spinach here, our cilantro, lime, red onions, goat cheese. We also have our walnuts, our salt and pepper to taste, our garlic and honey for a little sweetener, our olive oil for our dressing base, and our beet. Okay, so to get started, we are going to make our dressing first. So to start, we have our food processor. This is where we're gonna make our dressing. We have about 1 cup of olive oil. Okay. So we pour that in. And then we add in our garlic. Then we add in our honey. And of course, our cilantro. So this is about 1 cup of cilantro that's going into our Vitamix. So the ratio is 1 cup of olive oil to 1 cup of cilantro. Lime to give us that acidity. We want about 1/2 cup of lime juice. Being careful. So this will equate to about 3 limes. Sometimes you get lucky and you get more juice out of the lime, but add the salt and pepper after we've mixed in our dressing with the food processor. So this is about the consistency that we want for our dressing, where we don't want it too runny, but then we don't want it to be a puree either. Okay. So we are going to pour this into a bowl for later and mix our salad. So some people choose to boil their beet, just for faster cooking time. I find that it loses its flavor when you do it this way, just because there's so much water in there, so then the sweetness tends to go away, which is why I prefer to roast my beet. Look at that. Perfect. So we have our beet in the same bowl with the spinach, and we are gonna keep working on our salad. And we'll taste it a bit and see how much salt and pepper we need. Super good, but we still need salt and pepper. So I put in a pinch of pepper. To me, that's about a quarter of a teaspoon. And the same thing for salt. So then we'll taste it again. Perfect. So off to the side again is our dressing, just so that salt and pepper sinks in. We're going to chop our walnuts. Here. And so then we add in our goat cheese. This is my favorite part. You can add in as much cheese as you like, but you can either be conservative or just add in the whole thing. Last thing, our salad dressing, yay, okay. We just want our salad wet enough to taste that dressing. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here. And then mix in. So this is our salad, but I'm gonna add a bit more goat cheese just so it looks pretty. Working. And this is our salad.
This week we bring in tech guests, and they're working professionals in the industry, and quite a number of them said, when I was a kid or when I was in high school, I learned about computers and I started to learn about coding, and it was really fun. So what they're learning here really could set a course for their lives. Hi, I'm Elaine. Elaine Dondiano, and I teach art and technology at Rising Star Elementary School. Today we had a computer class with second graders, and we had guests today, which were the 5th grade robotics team from our school. And the 5th graders have built their own robots using Legos and are preparing for a competition in which they program their robots to accomplish tasks, or they call them missions.
Yeah, it has been really fun working as a team with groups and stuff like that to build the robots and program the robots to do the mission.
I know that by myself I couldn't do all this help, especially without our teacher. But when I have a team, it makes me feel like that I'm learning more stuff because they help me discover new things that I probably would have never known if I never joined this robotics club.
It's a long process. They will have been working together for 5 or 6 months before they go to their competition. So a lot of it is the process of working hard at something that doesn't come quickly and something that doesn't come easily.
When we are working on a mission and we get and then we try multiple times, and then we get it all right, and then that makes me feel really happy because we have to finish another mission.
I've learned that coding is actually fun and building is awesome.
A few years back, I had tech guests in from various companies in Seattle, and one was a representative from Facebook who told us when we do our computer coding, he says we always work on teams. So I always like to keep that in mind. Sometimes we have students doing independent work, but they need to learn to be able to work together because, in the real world when they're out in jobs, they'll need to be able to collaborate and communicate and work together and be a good teammate.
They didn't see themselves as scientists, they didn't see themselves as engineers, but with these opportunities like this, they see it, they're motivated, they want to do it, they talk to their families about it, they talk to other students about it, they talk to me about it. But also at the same time, it's just the joy, it's the happiness that I see. Being able to engage in really difficult problems and then ultimately working together as a team to solve those solutions, solve those problems. It's been a fantastic journey to see them succeed, and that's what brings me back every single day.
For more information about programs just like this one, visit us at www.seattleschools.org.
It's really good for that. Just wake up your body. Fresh air. It gives you exercise. I would encourage anyone to walk to school with a walking school bus.
We're walking on the school bus because we want our kids go to school on time, and we want to let the kids just have fun with the neighbor, they know each other from the same building or maybe another building that we are the same community.
So here at Bailey Gatsa, we promote the big 3: home, school, and community. So when you think about the walking school bus, it's the epitome of the big 3 working in tandem. 1, to keep our students safe. 2, to get them here on time because of attendance purposes. And 3, builds community. As you see, from Yesler to 10th, the group just converged and they all walk together, laughing and smiling and joking. So that is what the walking school bus promotes here at Gatsa.
This walking school bus program first launched with Seattle Department of Transportation providing a grant through the Seattle Central Neighborhood Greenways. And so in partnership with that organization, we've been able to train leaders and provide a stipend and give kids swag and promote walking together with their neighborhood friends and coming to school on time.
Sometimes the kids is not on time, we have to knock the door because we know each other already that this kid at this apartment or this unit, so we can call, text to the parent and ready to go on the lobby, or maybe we knock in front of your door.
but it's nothing like having a neighbor to walk to school with. So that kind of encourage families, okay, I can send him with this person because I trust them. I see them on a daily basis. Again, it's growing in this building, and we're looking forward to this major momentum.
Once they're here on time, they can have breakfast and they can get ready to learn.
That is what I tell families, drop them off or walk with the school bus. We can take everything else to the next level. I just need them to hear butts in the seat to make a difference.
When people ask me about Sugiyama, they're amazed that we have a daycare like this, and so it's wonderful, and we're very fortunate.
I am Valentina Vischer. I am the coordinator of the Parent Education Lab here on the campus of Alan T. Sugiyama High School at Southlake, and our licensed name is Southlake Parent and Child Education Center. We try to remove as many barriers as we possibly can. We only accept DSHS Working Connections Child Care Subsidies for payment. We waive all the fees that are associated with that, so there's no cost to the moms for the care in our center. We do encourage breastfeeding and have a very nice facility in the infant room to do that. We provide all foods, so if infants are ready for first foods, we provide that. And for the toddlers, our food comes from the central kitchens, so they get very nutritious meals. We serve breakfast, lunch, and an afternoon snack. We have a lot of wraparound opportunity for services if they need. If they are housing insecure or in the foster program, then the moms and babies can qualify for a cab ride to school. We're easily accessible on public transportation with the Metro bus system and the light rail station. We also have a community liaison on staff should they have something that occurs in their life they need to have some support with, and we also have a lot of resources we can direct them to and help them apply for if necessary. Because we take infants in the center, we have an opportunity to work with a Seattle and King County Department of Health nurse. She comes and does site visits, makes sure we have the best environment possible for the infants, and she also has access to resources that the staff or the moms may need. We also have outside partners that pre-COVID and when COVID restrictions are lifted, we partner with a Seattle Parks naturalist. Also, we are an aquarium, Seattle Aquarium Connections partner, where they've been kind to give us vouchers for field trips to the aquarium to expose them to nature and STEM activities. Seattle Play Therapy is contracted with us to do mom and baby play therapy time, which is very beneficial. The teens and their little ones can be high risk with not a lot of supports. They have a rich opportunity to finish their education in the main building with what Dr. Powell and the staff have going on over there.
I would absolutely say any student, especially our teen parents out there, we're here for you. We've created a space for you to be part of a larger family, and we truly do create a culture of voice and choice for all of our young people, and we do that in a way because we're constantly remixing how we do learning, how we prepare our young people to navigate learning. I would love to be able to say to you as you come and join the family, welcome home.
It's a great comfort for our students to know that their children are being cared for in an environment that is safe and where their children learn. It's just a great environment to have a daycare where the students can learn, but at the same time be parents and know that their children are being well cared for. I just can't say enough great things about the Parent Education Lab here at Sugiyama.
For more information on the Parent Education Lab, including how you or someone you know can apply, go to sugiyamas.seattleschools.org/PEL or call the program coordinator at 206-252-6640.
An empty kayak floats in open water. What happened? Did this kayak fall off a dock or boat? Or is a kayaker in distress? When you label your kayaks, canoes, and paddleboards, the Coast Guard can contact you and determine if your kayak accidentally drifted away or you need to be rescued. To obtain an If Found sticker, contact your local Coast Guard auxiliary.
Hi, Seattle Super Reader. Yes, I'm talking to you. What are you doing this summer? Going to the park? Playing ball? How about reading? Let books take you on an adventure. Travel to new places. Meet new friends. Build your superpowers by reading every day. And become a Seattle Super Reader. I want you on the team. Want to learn more? Ask an adult to visit the Seattle Public Schools website. Let's get reading.
Staff, if we could help support folks get in between the 20 and the 40 right here.
And just so you know, Rainier Beach Vikings, if we could have your attention up here at the front. This is a historic moment here. Staff, students, Vikings. We are joined here today by representatives from Seattle Public Schools and the planning and construction teams that work to make this whole project happen. This historic project that we've heard about in the assembly. So here today we have Rainier Beach High School legacy basketball coach, Coach Bethea. If we could give a round of applause. We also have Rainier Beach High School alumni and student advocates that were at the school board meetings advocating for the school. Yen Rosario and Naj Ali, if we could give them a round of applause, our alumni. And we can't forget about alum, our other alumni. They're the crew that helped to make this happen, and alumni, and doing great work at their universities and soon to transition into career pathways. So round of applause for that, alumni. We've got our legacy advocate, former school board president, Ms. Betty Patu, who we heard from earlier. Round of applause for her. We have my mentor, who I look up to in terms of leadership, our superintendent, Mr. Brent Jones. Dr. Mr. Reverend Brent Jones. My mentor. We have Capital Projects and Planning Director, Mr. Richard Best. We have Bassetti Architects Principal Architect, Jordan Keel. We have Moody Nolan's architect, principal architect, Earl Lee, which, by the way, is the largest black-owned architectural firm in the country here. Round of applause for Mr. Earl Lee. We also have Parametrics project manager. We meet every Friday morning. Paul Popovich. We have Leidig project manager and an excellent golfer out here, Mr. Patrick McLaughlin here. And very soon, you will see the mayor of Seattle, Mr. Bruce Harrell, who is coming all the way across town to come join us here. So round of applause for the mayor now. And round of applause when we see him arrive. With that being said, I want to introduce, we have Miss Rita Green, who we heard from, strong advocate for Rainier Beach and making this happen, specifically our IB program. Miss Rita Green. And alumni from the class of 2000 and the class of 1980, Miss Rita Green here. And we also have a Franklin graduate who I just happened to see while I was playing tennis at Seward Park. Remember that? Yep, our county councilman, Germay. Round of applause. We got some heavy hitters in the building. Oh, you saw these people behind me? These are heavy hitters right here. For our community and for you. And you all could be them one day. And we need you to be them one day in terms of continuing to lead the community in this work. With that being said, with that being said, I am going to transition to another introduction of our District 7 School Board Director, President of our school board, Mr. Brandon Hersey.
Thank you, Principal Brooks. And let me just say that I am so excited to be here because this is a critical step. I am so proud of the work that the Rainier Beach community has put into arriving at this moment. I would be remiss if I did not recognize a couple of my personal mentors, former school board president and District 7 director, Miss Betty Patu and Rita Green. They have definitely shown me what power can come from when leadership actually responds and listens to community and advocacy. This is really what we can count on in terms of ensuring that y'all have the educational environments that you need to thrive, survive, and to be successful in whatever it is you want to do in life. I look forward to this new school, and one of the things that I am really proud to say is that this is going to be one of the first projects in Seattle Public Schools that is going to benefit from the Student Community Workforce Agreement that was reached between labor and the Seattle Public Schools District. Let me tell you what that means. That means that all of the tax dollars that are going in to build this beautiful new building, there is going to be an opportunity for students, their families, and members of this community right here in Rainier Beach to get good union paying jobs that are incredibly important during the economic crisis that our country are in. And we want to make sure that we are not just filling your minds, but we are also doing everything we can to fill the pockets of you and your families, because we believe that when you invest in community, not only in the forms of buildings, but also in financial and economic liberation, that great things are possible. So I just want to say again, thank you to everybody who made this moment possible. And I am going to go ahead and pass it over to another one of my mentors, the person who really honestly needs no introduction, the Honorable Dr. Superintendent Brent Jones.
I can't agree more with President Hersey, what he said around the importance of this project. And I just want to express gratitude to all of you who have come together to make this project happen. We know that this just didn't happen overnight. We know that this has been many years of advocacy, of heavy lifting, of showing up at board meetings, of showing up in council meetings, and showing up in places to really make sure that this endeavor is going to be manifested. So I just really appreciate everyone involved. I want to give a special shout out to one of the first ladies of Rainier Beach, Miss Betty Patu, who has been on the forefront of this. I'd like to also just thank all of the people, Rainier Beach graduates and alums who have been advocating for this project as we go forward. So in order to do this, we rely on voter approved funds. And one of the voter approved funds is called the Building Excellence Fund. And this is also known as the BEX levy. So the city of Seattle, the residents of Seattle, have paid tax money to make sure that this happens. And so this isn't just a Rainier Beach community project. This is a citywide project that our city can be proud of moving forward. So together we are making this happen. This is a proud moment for us to really show our city what it's like to have a green building, a building that's innovated, a building that is really going to be one of the beacons of pride for us, for this city. So I just like to encourage our students to be invested in understanding the process for how we got here, how the wheels of power turn, how politics work. So if anybody's out there that's doing a civics class, teachers, give your students an opportunity to kind of understand how this worked out, because you all as students are going to be the ones who are going to be the beneficiaries of this. You all will be leaders going forward in these type of endeavors. And so again, I just want to say thank you to everyone involved with this project. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn some dirt. Thank you very much. So we're all going to. So let's go and grab shovels, and we're going to do some dirt turning right here.
Because I've always driven around the shipyards and the different boats and yacht clubs, but I never really knew the actual people and the actual jobs that went into creating that industry for Seattle. And now that I know more about that, I can actually drive past that and be oh, I know what's going on in that ship. I know there's an engineer, there's a captain, and I know about all the navigation systems and that kind of stuff.
Alright, then you'll just turn around, and then you'll hold on to both sides, and just take one
Today we went out on one of Seattle Maritime Academy's boats called the Maritime Instructor, and we planned our route to go through like Lake Union and Lake Washington.
We went out on the water and we kind of looked at our surroundings, where we were going, how we navigated through obstacles and like traffic and lines, and
we all got a turn to drive the boat, which was really fun. And Captain Danny explained a lot of like the different controls to us, and then I got to go in the engine room too, which is one of my favorite parts, I think. And we just got to like kind of hang out on the boat and see like the different boats that were on the side of the water.
I love going to the helm and just looking at like what the captain looks at. It's really interesting, all these like screens and buttons and channels. It is intimidating, but once you like know a little bit, it like gets better and you're like, wow, what's this or what's that? If you like the water and you really want to get out there, you want to do some hands-on work and you want to be part of a crew, I think Maritime is great and this program's good for that. Yeah.
Let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries are limits people set for themselves. Boundaries are about thinking through what's okay for you, what you feel comfortable with, and letting other people know. Boundaries are not about telling others what to do. They're about telling others how do you like to be treated.
Every person has boundaries. And so just as you would want someone to respect your boundaries, it's important that you respect other people's boundaries.
When setting boundaries, it's important to notice how you feel about something. If something makes us feel uncomfortable or breaks a rule, we may set a boundary. It's also important to notice how other people feel and to listen to them when they set a boundary.
Some common boundaries include how close people can be to our bodies, what body parts are okay to touch, what activities we want to participate in, and the information we share in the words and phrases we choose to use.
People often have boundaries with physical contact. For example, some people may like to hug everyone. Some people may like to only hug their family. And some people may not like to hug anybody.
Another example of a boundary is the personal space around a person. Sometimes that looks like an invisible space around a person's body, like a bubble. No one should go inside another person's bubble unless they say it's okay.
What to do if you cross someone's boundaries? We've all crossed someone's boundaries in the past, probably without even knowing it. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as you try your best. If you cross somebody's boundary, apologize. Let the person know that you'll do better next time and change your behavior. It's your responsibility to try and not cross others' boundaries.
What to do if someone crosses your boundaries? Maybe someone has crossed your boundaries. If that has happened, you can let the other person know that they have crossed a boundary with you. Tell them how you would like to be treated.
It can also be helpful to reach out to a trusted adult like a parent, older sibling, family friend, school counselor, teacher, or a coach if you need help.
Remember, personal boundaries are important for building healthy relationships. Boundaries are meant to be respected.
Unicorn Advanced Educational Resources, an organization focused on supporting the well-being of trans students across the globe. The Gender Unicorn provides us with visual representation of the range of SOGI experiences that are common among most people. SOGI stands for Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity, and Gender Expression. The Gender Unicorn helps users capture the difference between gender identity, who we know ourselves to be, gender expression, how we express our gender, biological sex, genitals, chromosomes, and hormones, physical attraction, and romantic attraction. Everyone has a soji, and everyone's soji is unique to them. The Gender Unicorn is a fun and informative way to think through these concepts and how they apply to ourselves and our communities. For more information, go to seattleschools.org/health education.
You know, oftentimes when the schools are not being as heavily populated as in the summer, we're producing excess energy in a lot of these buildings, and it's being sold back to the utility at the same rate that they're charging us. I'm Ian Brown. I work for the Seattle Public Schools. I'm one of 3 resource conservation specialists in the district. We're here because Barbara Heights is one of 6 schools that has a large photovoltaic solar array on it that produces electricity. And it was part of a single project for 6 schools, and we have a total capacity of about 795 kilowatts spread out of 6 schools. So each school has a little over 100 kilowatt solar arrays. Between the 6 sites, they produce enough electricity to power, maybe 40 to 70 homes a year in the Seattle area, for comparison. First thing that happens is all that electricity is gathered with the wires up on the roof, and they go to something called an inverter. And the inverter takes the voltage in direct current and transforms it into alternating current. Then that gets sent along the wires as well through a Seattle City Light production meter. So Seattle City Light can figure out how much energy we're producing. So when the solar energy is being produced, the building can use it immediately if it's needed. If the panels are producing excess power that the building is using, it gets sold back and pushed back into the utility grid of Seattle City Light. All new buildings are being built to be solar ready. There's not necessarily capacity in the budgets for the new buildings to have solar, but again, this was a large project involving the 6 schools, and it cost about $2 million total project. We got a $500,000 grant from the Washington Department of Commerce, and we got another $150,000 incentive from Seattle City Light. It's the largest solar array that we have in K-12 schools in Washington State. We're also the largest district in Washington State as well. All of our new schools are all electric, and that's really important for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And if they're all electric, adding the solar panels to them just helps. Our ideal would be to get for every building to be net zero. That means every building produces as much energy as it uses. That's a large goal, and it's kind of hard to get to, but that's what we aspire to. Anything we can do to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is great.
From Seattle Public Utilities, and I work in our Rainwise program. And the Rainwise program captures rooftop rainwater and puts it into either a rain garden or a cistern so that it doesn't flow into your sewer pipes and overflow your sewer system. And in this case, those overflows would lead to Lake Washington. So we're preventing pollution, sewage getting into Lake Washington with this installation, and we hope doing a lot more. As our partners here in the Leschi community were so wonderful. They embraced us. They embraced this project. They had a lot going on. Many of you know this happened over the COVID pandemic. Not that it's over, but it was firmly in the middle of COVID. Our first meeting here was February, before the March that COVID started, and we were able to get the project done all the way through COVID. It looked a lot different than we thought it would look. But yeah, Kate and Benson, who are parents in the community, Principal Lou, and Miss Chin, who is on maternity leave. She's not here today. She's busy. She was the teacher who guided her students in designing this system, along with an former SPU staff, Aaron Irby, who you will hear from later. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I am the representative from the Leschi PTA board, and I'm really here just again to say thank you to everybody. And I just wanted to reflect on the amazing partnership that went into all of this. I mean, as Leschi is a Title I school, our PTA as a nonprofit organization in and of itself is very focused on improving the classroom and at-home experience for all of our students and families. And especially during COVID, a lot of our time and resources were dedicated toward mitigating the impacts of the pandemic. That said, an undertaking like this is something that had been in our minds, and garden education, outdoor education is always part of what we've tried to support in the parent community, relying on volunteers. And this sort of project, I wouldn't have imagined we'd have the capital resources or person resources to do in 5 years, let alone a year and a half. And it's really all due to the partnerships and the people within all these organizations you'll hear from who are willing to think creatively and find connections. And people keep saying thanks to me, but really I just got on a whole bunch of Zooms and everyone told me, oh yeah, we've got money for that, so you just have to sign here. And I said, great, that sounds good. Thank you again for being here, and I wanted to give a special thanks to Kate, who as just a member of our parent community really had the vision to get this going, and it's nothing that anyone on the PTA or on the board had thought to mobilize. So with that, I'll introduce Kate Faulkner, and thanks.
Thank you, Benson. Well, this project started with me thinking about my work. And in my work, I see beautiful gardens and outdoor spaces and how they can have a positive effect on people's moods and well-being. Nature is stimulating, and it's important for our children's education. I saw an opportunity here for our community's students to have an outdoor classroom and to see nature in action, and to see how we can slow down stormwater and the education that can happen around that, and thinking about nurturing our spaces, our Lake Washington. This was really a collaboration through Rainwise and the school system, and an opportunity for enlightenment right here. So let's make some more. I just wanted to make sure I thanked everybody who kept things rolling and kept this going. Mr. Liu, thank you for supporting us. Benson for keeping things going and doing the legwork. Miss Chin and her class, and Miss Woods, our 5th grade teachers. Miss Mehta and Miss LeBeau. Miss Milland, who was the principal several years ago, who first signed off on this project and supported my vision. At Seattle Public School System, I wanted to thank Gretchen DeDecker and Colleen Weinstein. You kept us, nailed to our purpose, and to Visa. And the encouragement that we got from the facilities department in general. From SPU, I wanted to give a big thanks to Bill Malatinsky, Sonia Sivison, and Aaron Irby, and Ruben Charbertoni. I want to thank the Essers family for the donation of this cistern. That was a big donation. Mariah Irwin, a neighbor, and Jenny Marie Owens, also another neighbor and parent who has made this beautiful veggie garden grow. Wanted to thank Islandwood for the partnership that happened there, and Selena for providing the curriculum that was crucial to tying the project to connect to our students and the education around that. It's hopefully the path more schools can take to create outdoor classrooms, which are really relevant right now, not only for mental health, and the education that can happen there. This wouldn't have been a success story without the why, so I wanted to thank Islandwood for that. And John, our contractor from HGO, who did a beautiful job guiding us through the process and helping us choose the right plants in the right place.
This is a poem by me, Cleanliness. Rain, Rain, the life-forming liquid of cleanliness. Mandatory for not just us, but the beautiful or not so beautiful stalks that carry everyone to success. Plants, we need them, oh so much. They keep the air full of life. Clean. The clean we hope the lake could be. So many great people want change. Not just us, but the plants too. We call. And one miracle later, we have an answer. An answer of inclusiveness, of justice. We have an opportunity to clean. Not just to clean our rooms, but the lake. We could help from where we were. Everyone joined together and helped. We are Rainwise. Hi, I'm Lois, and when I was in 5th grade and we were designing it was really cool to design and pick all the plants out to help the environment become a better place and for years to come on. Yeah, you go.
I'm Tatum. My experience was fun and there was a lot of things to do and we really worked our strategies and it was really fun and that's all I have to say.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin Irby and I served as the graduate intern for the Rainwise program for a year and a half, and I was actively involved with and we'll be talking about the design process for this space and loved hearing from the students about their experiences going right after them. I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Washington, where I'll be graduating with my master's in landscape architecture in just a couple of weeks. So last year, during the winter and early spring, I had the privilege and joy of working with Selena Steiger, like everyone's mentioned, for Miss Chin and Miss Woods. They're amazing student teachers, Miss LeBeau and Miss Mehta, and this whole community who graciously invited us into their classrooms for this project. So Selena and I developed lessons about stormwater, rain gardens, problem solving, and designing these spaces. And again, all throughout the digital classroom for the 5th grade students to get their gears going about the engineering and design process and how their ideas would inform the design of what you see. After these lessons, students were put into groups, which if you remember being a 5th grader, they were allowed to choose their own groups, which was a pretty big deal, if I remember. These groups were given various aspects of the design to focus on. So like the rain garden plants, the shape, and what we call the other things, the different spaces around the rain garden. The teachers, Miss Woods and Miss Chin, and the student teachers frame their efforts and challenge the students to create persuasive presentations for their final design choices, which they presented at a virtual event, Design Review, where many of you who are here today attended, parents, teachers, SPU staff, SPS staff, and everyone provided amazing positive feedback for the students' ideas. From those presentations, key themes emerged to guide the design of the site based on the students' ideas. Things like ample seating, creating habitat for wildlife, color and fragrance, and resilient plant choices. And from all those ideas, we created 2 design concepts that were then voted on by the students and school community, which I think you can see in some of the slideshow there, which are kind of going through. What I learned from this process, and I think what we all learned, is that we really should be listening to 5th graders more because they have amazing ideas. And I will say, and forgive me for this, but I think we're all sorry that we couldn't put a tire swing in. What also struck me throughout this whole design process, I'm sorry, Colleen, I just had to say that, was how often I heard students mention the desire for therapeutic plants and spaces to gather with one another. I think in part this is due to the timing that we conducted the design process. We were mostly isolated and worried about the future. And it's so exciting to see this space filled with people and seeing how it clearly reflects the students' desires for gathering. especially when we have even more reasons to create supportive, healing spaces at our schools for community and care. A garden can be many things all at once. A place to gather, a place to rest, a place for stormwater filtration, and a place for butterflies and birds. But it also can be a place for healing and a place to hope. And our hope is that this project, although relatively small in scale, will continue to positively contribute to healthier waters and local ecosystems while cultivating caring and supportive stewards of our local environment. And students, your ideas made this space what it is. As these plants grow and as the space becomes more beautiful over time, I hope you can always come back here and know that you made a difference in your community and for your elementary school. So thank you all for being here today.
So this roof up here is about 1,000, almost 2,000 square feet, and the water from the roof comes down and goes into this big tank, which we call a cistern. Can anyone guess how many gallons of water they think can go in there? 15, more than 15.
20.
More than 20. It's 530. So, yes! So this cistern can hold 530 gallons of water, which then can be used in the summertime to water the plants, to not have to use our tap water. And then the other side over here, we collect almost 2,000 square feet of roof area that comes down that pipe and goes across the little river stream and into the rain garden. So it fills up with water, and then if it gets too full, too little, but it allows a place for the water to be contained and absorbed by the plants and by the soil before it goes down towards the lake. And we also have plants here, and I urge all of you to come back in like 5 years. And more beautiful. You know, the kids did it themselves. Yeah, but thanks everyone, it was really fun.
I am from Self-Help Projects, which is part of SPS, and my colleague Tabisa is here today with us as well. Seattle Self-Help Projects at Seattle's Public is thrilled to students and bring communities together to plan and take action. This project at Leshai is special for many reasons, and you've heard these already, but it engaged students at one of our priorities through the entire process of remote learning. I am heartened by the level of engagement from the students, staff, and Leshai community, as well as the contributions of my SP and our rainwater home organic children for acceptance for as we continue to strive towards greening our schoolyards. Thank you.
Bye. Good to see you guys. That's the kind of reception I normally get, I guess. I wanted to just share a couple of stories to kind of ground us on the intent of projects like this. And the first story is actually from when I worked at the city of Bellevue. I worked across the lake at Bellevue, and we had a habitat restoration project called Kelsey Creek in Bellevue, and we were super excited about it. It was intended to provide habitat for fish, for salmon, and we partnered with the tribes. And at the end of that project, they said, we're going to bring 300 salmon who are ready to spawn, and we're going to bring them there so they can spawn in this creek right in Bellevue. Super excited. They came out, I was there, watched the fish, exit out of this water truck, and saw the fish get out and start swimming upstream, ready to spawn. Super exciting. It rained the next 2 days. We came out on day 3, and you wouldn't guess what we saw. We literally saw all 300 of the salmon were all dead. They were all on their side, which was the impact of stormwater runoff, running off of streets, collecting all the pollutants that make up the cocktail of stormwater runoff, and it was kind of like a huge massacre, unfortunately. And I contrast that story with another story, which is University of Washington researchers. They took stormwater runoff from 520 a number of years ago, and they put that stormwater runoff, which was just as polluted, maybe even more polluted, they put that into through rain gardens, and then they put in it. Rain gardens, but we know that rain gardens are pretty super effective at cleaning up stormwater. And so that's what makes me so excited about this. I was going to tell the students that in 10 to 15 years, I hope they're inspired by this to get a degree in civil engineering, environmental studies, master's in public administration, to go into this field, because we're seeing so many people exit out of this industry, and of course, where are they going? They're going into software development, going into electrical, business, degrees, but we're hoping to inspire a generation of folks that go into and say, I want to study environmental work because I want to make a difference in this, and I hope this is the type of project that inspires our students to do that one day. I do want to give a huge thank you. There's been a ton of thank yous to everyone here, but I especially appreciate the partnership with Seattle Public Schools. Thank you guys so much. Again, opportunity to inspire our next generation of leaders. And we hope for more opportunities. I appreciate those who've been working with us to get more partnership opportunities with schools. And so, this rain garden is going to manage 45,000 gallons of stormwater every year. And that's huge, right? Our target is actually 700 million gallons, across the city. So that's pretty impressive. But it's projects like these that make that.
I'm not going to spend too much time, but with all the thank yous and just really recognizing the wonderful collaboration that it took to really get all of this together and to see what we see today. And also for keeping this work centered on our students and their ways for them to give input, for us to create this space together for our student community and for our larger community. So thank you everyone for all of that collaboration. All right. This is the first time I've ever actually done this before, but all right. Here we go. Officially ribbon cutting for the rain garden.
Thank you from myself to everyone in this wonderful partnership. Even for me as just an SPU employee working in this partnership, we all had our challenges over the time of COVID and struggled with isolation, being alone, not being able to go places. And I really found a community in this project and in this group of people. And this is something that helped me personally forge my way through the pandemic, raising a couple kids at the same time. It's just, after I get off these meetings with the school district, with the school communities, with Islandwood, I feel a lift every time, and that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me to see everyone here. And I also just want to tell I'll tell two stories. One of the things I heard, some commentary I heard on the way here, about we're all feeling heaviness from what happened in Texas, and there are always reactions to that and things that we can and can't do because of stalemate in Congress, etc. And an expert came on and talked about what things can really make a difference And according to a lot of research and a lot of some of those feelings in your school, and it struck me that those second two are something we've created here. Like Aaron was talking about, one of the key things the kids kept talking over and over and over again was a place to de-stress, and how they were feeling stress, and they wanted a calming space to come to. And I don't think Aaron actually named this as the spa concept. I don't think it was between the nest and the spa, and they picked the spa. And so what you see, what you're standing in, is the spa concept, and that place that the students, as it develops, especially when we get those big containers with those great smelling plants, which we hope to do eventually, that they will come and de-stress and feel that connection to the school. One of the other things Aaron noticed as she was designing, she came here on a weekend, is how many kids who graduated from here, how many community members use this space around Leschi, something they're comfortable with. It was a safe haven during the pandemic for them. And so this space is not just used by current students, but kids coming back, community members coming back. Last thing I'll say is I had a teacher when I was a kid in 5th grade, Mrs. Chan, not Mrs. Chin. The relationship, I think, is close for a reason here. She took us through an exercise that wasn't like this, but it was an environmental exercise where this was the 90s. So we had styrofoam trays in our lunchroom. And she took us through an exercise where we advocated within our school as a 5th grade to get rid of the styrofoam trays and use reusable plastic trays. And I swear to you, that is the reason I'm standing here today doing environmental work. That lesson and that 5th grade experience sticks with me now, so much so that I'm talking about it in front of a bunch of strangers, mostly friends. And you know, I really hope that for Mrs. Chin's class and Miss LeBeau's class and Miss Wood's class, that they take those lessons, the kids who this project resonates with, and they become, like Andrew was speaking to, the professionals of the future who are doing these kinds of installations even better in 20. Chocolate from a local Leschi bakery called Moon. Take one before you go. There's slides that you can barely see, so everyone stay until sunset so you can actually see them. Thank you again for coming, and have a good afternoon. Your mic's good enough to...
To learn more about the Rain Garden at Leschi Elementary, Rainwise, and more self-help projects, go to www.seattleschools.org/self-help project.
TV with Culinary Services. My name is Tina, and we are making veggie tagine today. We are using locally sourced ingredients and, you know, your everyday ingredients that you can find at your local grocery store, or just ingredients that you already have in your pantry. Ingredients for today's recipe includes vegetable oil, minced garlic, tomato paste, coriander, black pepper, turmeric, a veggie stock mixed with salt, curry, chili powder, chopped fresh parsley, and we have our veggie stock here, and our butternut squash, our Yukon Gold potato, garbanzo beans, and our cut butternut squash, and our canned apricot, our diced tomatoes, and our potatoes also already cut for the pot. and some diced onions. So we are going to start on medium heat today. And our first step is to add in our vegetable oil and then add in our onion. Followed by our garlic. And followed by our tomato paste. And then we're gonna add in all of our spices, including the chopped parsley. So coriander goes in first, our veggie stock and salt, our turmeric, black pepper, our curry, our chili powder. For the chili powder, I measured out 1 tablespoon, but you can use less or more if you'd like. This recipe isn't supposed to be spicy, but if you want a bit more kick, feel free to do so. And I don't, so I'm just gonna save a little more and add it later maybe. And then chopped parsley. And after adding all of the spices, you should have a yellowish orange color. We will then add our tomatoes. Followed by our potatoes. And followed by garbanzo beans. Right. So this is a simple 1-pot recipe that takes anywhere from 40 minutes to 1 hour, depending on how you chop up how you cut your potatoes and butternut squash. In my case, I did a medium cut, so it should be cooked in about 45 minutes. So this is the result of adding in all of our ingredients except our broth and apricot. So then at this point you add in your broth and you just want enough to cover all of the ingredients in here. So that, and then you of course always want to taste to see if you need to add a little fix, since if you oversalted to tame that salt. And I'm gonna try it. It's perfect. So it's been about 40 minutes now and our stew has cooked down. So at this stage is where we will add in the apricots without the syrup. So you can chop your apricots if you'd like, but I prefer to just use it half. So then we stir this. So the apricots add a sweetness, a gentle sweetness and a little tart to it. So some people like to mince their, just cut up their apricots in here just so that it's evenly distributed and everyone gets a piece. So after adding the apricot, we will let it go for about 10 more minutes and then it's ready to serve. So our stew is finally done and you can have the stew as is or you can have it with couscous or rice. Oh yeah, you can also have it with a baguette or any type of bread that you like. So you have your option of rice, couscous, or bread, but I am going with bread today. All right. So this is definitely something that we will keep featuring for Seattle Public Schools.
7.
I like that they're giving it to somebody that'll need it. That it feels good in a way.
Done a really good job taking instruction, coming out here, getting their hands dirty, sweating in the summertime, 90-degree weather, and learning as they go. Running into some problems, like in real life, then you make adjustments.
Kind of lets you do it on your own, but also make sure you're doing it safely and also understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Some teachers kind of like baby you in a sense where they're like making sure you're doing everything and you don't have the chance to make any mistakes, so you don't really have the chance to understand why you have to do things a certain way.
He's very helpful.
Yeah, he's been really helpful. He helped us with a lot of stuff, about learning continues to minus off a lot of stuff.
You know whether or not you did it the right way, and that's just taking pride in any kind of work you do, just doing it the right way. Even if nobody will ever see it, you know you did it the right way.
Oh, it's going someone to live, and I was like, oh, so now we have to I kind of put myself in the mode it has to actually come together nicely, because someone actually is going to stay in it.
Because in the end someone is going to live in it. You want to make sure it's nice. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you put a little more effort into it, I feel like.
For me personally, it changed because I'm
like a wall.